Imagine this, a quiet afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Families laughing, music echoing through Washington Park, and children chasing bubbles under the summer sun. It's the kind of small-town happiness that feels untouched by chaos. And in the middle of it all, a clown. Not the kind from nightmares, not the kind that hides behind shadows. No, this one's real. Bright red suspenders, a painted smile, and balloon animals twisting in his hands like tiny sculptures of joy. His name is Robert Newhauser, but the neighborhood kids call him Consternation the Clown. He came to make them smile, but by sunset he'd be in handcuffs. Because in America, even a clown can become a criminal for standing up to the wrong people. August 6, 2025. Milwaukee's Washington Park. It was one of those perfect Midwestern days, the sky wide and blue, the kind of day that draws families out from their homes after a week of work. Music filled the air. Local bands played, vendors sold lemonade, and the smell of grilled corn drifted across the open field. And then, like a small parade of one, he arrived. Robert rolled up on a handmade vehicle, a three-wheeled contraption he'd built himself from spare motorcycle parts and an old engine. It looked like something out of a carnival dream, colorful, eccentric, and somehow both ridiculous and brilliant. He parked by the edge of the event, setting out balloons, twisting them into giraffes, swords, and hearts, all for free. No charge, no signs, just joy. The children loved him. The parents were unsure. Maybe it was the makeup. Maybe it was the quiet unease people feel when they can't tell if someone is joking or serious. But the smiles started to fade as whispers spread. Event organizers exchanged looks. One of them, a man named Eric Goutreau, didn't like what he saw. He made a call that would change the course of the day. To the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, it sounded simple: a disturbance involving a clown in an unauthorized vehicle. Deputy Carlton Thomas and Deputy Maxwell Stone were dispatched to the park. They arrived minutes later, flashing lights off, body cams on. Their first stop, the event organizer. Eric Goutreau. Yeah, we've got this clown out here. He's got this not street legal vehicle, riding through the grass, doing burnouts or something. Parents are complaining, creepy vibes. We just want him gone. Deputy Thomas. Okay, you want him out, not arrested? Eric. Yeah, just out. Last year, parents said he made them uncomfortable. Creepy vibes. That was the reason. Not a crime, not a threat, just a feeling. The deputies nodded. They didn't know Robert yet, but they already had their minds made up. Consternation the Clown was in the middle of making a balloon sword when the first officer approached. Deputy Stone. Hey there, nice day, huh? Robert. Best day in the park. Kids love it. Deputy Stone. Yeah, about that. You're not allowed to be here. Robert. What? This is a public park. The deputy explained that this was a permitted event, private technically, even though it was open to the public. He told Robert he didn't have the proper permission to perform. Robert smiled politely, wiping his forehead. Robert, this is America. I don't need a permit to make balloon animals. I'm not selling anything. I'm sharing art, freedom of speech, freedom to perform. The deputy looked unsure, but pressed on. Deputy Stone. They don't want you here. Robert. Then maybe they should leave. The kids seem to like me just fine. If you've ever seen a clown argue constitutional rights with a cop, you know it's both absurd and glorious. And this one, it was caught on Bodycam. What happened next would later make headlines, because while Robert stood calm and collected, the deputy's body cams told a different story behind closed doors. After their first exchange, one officer turned to the event organizer, muttering under his breath, Deputy Thomas. He's weird, man. The guy's got a whole clown car thing going. Parents don't want him here. We'll figure out a reason. They would figure out a reason. Within minutes, Robert was accused of driving on the grass and damaging property, claims that would later be proven false. But in that moment, perception was power, and perception was turning against him. To understand what happened, you need to understand the law. Public parks are what the Supreme Court calls traditional public forums. That means anyone, you, me, or even a clown, has the right to express themselves freely, so long as they aren't breaking laws. Robert wasn't selling anything. He wasn't blocking walkways. He was performing art, speech, expression, the core of the First Amendment. But when authority feels challenged, logic often takes a back seat. And on that August afternoon, the Constitution was losing to convenience. When the sergeant arrived, the tone shifted. "Sergeant Orzala, I need your name." "Robert." "When you show me charges, Sergeant, cease and desist making balloons." Robert turned to the kids watching, raising his voice just enough to be heard. "Robert, sorry kids, the sheriff's department says making balloons is illegal now." Parents gasped. Cameras came out. The situation was spiraling. "Sergeant, sir, we're done talking. Put your hands behind your back." "Robert, for what? Making children smile?" The handcuffs clicked. The clown stood silent. The kids cried, and the officers smiled awkwardly, pretending this was just another day. But this wasn't another day. This was the moment America saw a clown stand taller than the badge. The citations came quick. Operating a motor vehicle off-road, criminal damage to property. The damage? A small patch of grass, no bigger than a shoe print. But when Robert's case hit court, the truth unraveled. Lawyers cited precedent after precedent. Ward v. Rock against racism, 1989. Berger v. City of Seattle, 2009. All confirming his right to perform in public without a permit. The courtroom murmured as footage from the deputy's own body cams played, revealing bias, condescension, and poor understanding of the law. One officer could be heard whispering, "The parents don't like him. He's got creepy vibes." Creepy vibes aren't probable cause, and making balloon animals isn't criminal damage. The courtroom erupted in quiet laughter, but underneath the humor was outrage. The charges were eventually dropped, but the story didn't end there. The video of the clown being handcuffed for performing went viral overnight. Millions watched, outraged and amused all at once. Robert became an unlikely hero. Talk shows invited him on. Civil rights lawyers praised his composure, and freedom of speech advocates used his case to challenge unfair park ordinances across the country. He didn't just win his case, he made history, one balloon animal at a time. The image of a clown in cuffs is ridiculous, but it's also revealing, because sometimes it takes the absurd to expose the corrupt. Sometimes it takes laughter to show us what's broken. Robert Newhauser wasn't fighting for fame. He was fighting for principle. And in a world where power too often silences the small voices, it was the clown who reminded us all. Freedom isn't granted by permission, it's lived through courage. He stood there, red suspenders, smudged makeup, wrists sore from the cuffs. And when a reporter asked him what he'd learned from all this, Robert just smiled and said, "If the First Amendment doesn't protect a clown, who does it protect?" In the end, the clown walked free. The cops walked embarrassed. And the law, well, it remembered its purpose, if only for a moment. Because in the land of the free, even laughter has to fight to be heard. This was the case of Consternation the Clown versus corruption. A story not just about one man's freedom, but about the thin, red line between order and oppression, and the courage it takes to stand